Would you recommend installing an Atmos studio? Yes, I would. Now, here's the thing with an Atmos studio is it's going to add an extra level of service onto what you already can provide. So you can provide Atmos mixing, Atmos mastering, anything Atmos related. So it is going to do that for you, but there's a cost involved. And it's a pretty hefty cost when you consider originally 2 speakers. Let's say for argument's sake you're spending £4,000 a speaker for 2 nice stereo speakers, times that by what, 15 or 14, however many you want to put in. So 4 times 14, oh god, now you're going to put me on the spot with my maths. 4,000, 40,000, 4 times 4 is 480, 16, £56,000 to put just the system in. You've then got to have the interface to support that. I'd highly recommend fitting a Trinov to calibrate all those speakers, because 2 speakers you can kind of get away with. There's a slight imperfections in 2 speakers. When it comes to 15 or 14 speakers, there's quite a big range of imperfections coming from all different angles. So I'd recommend that. You're talking in total, and then you need a room built specifically for Atmos. You can adapt obviously a room and build the speakers on the walls, or put them on stands, whatever. So there's massive expense involved. Let's say for argument's sake, if you've done it on the cheap, you're talking £20,000 outlay to fit an Atmos studio. If you do it on a more expensive, kind of getting better speakers, a room, Trinov, all these other things, interface, you're talking, let's say, maybe anywhere between 60 to 100. So there's a huge cost involved. But one thing I will say is there's a lot of work in Atmos. Every more professional artist that you work with, you'll find that it's more the professional artists, less of the underground artists, but more the kind of artists that are putting their music out, and budget's not necessarily as much of an issue. Every one of them gets an Apple master, gets a Dolby Atmos master every single time, because this is the format going forward. And this is the thing, is the one thing I would the one reason I would recommend installing an Atmos studio, or at least just thinking about it and looking forward, like kind of thinking forward to, okay, I don't necessarily want to fit one right now, but maybe in a few years I might fit one. I would recommend fitting one, or at least looking to fit one at some point, because that's the way the industry's going. The industry is going to go towards Atmos. I mean, it's the default playback on Apple. It will be the default across every format eventually. We kind of are moving from stereo to Atmos. We haven't done that already. It's still, I wouldn't even say it's 50-50 at the moment. The majority of listeners, well, I say that, but then the majority of listeners, if you're listening on a phone, Atmos is enabled when you get the phone. It's the default playback. Majority of listeners might be actually listening in Atmos. So you'll find that most people are having their track mastered in Atmos. So if you don't offer it, if you're running a mix and a mastering company and you're not able to offer Atmos, and this is why we fitted the Atmos studios, because we kept getting asked for it. And if you keep getting asked for something and you can't supply it, people are going to go elsewhere, and you're going to lose a client, because it's not like they're going to come to you and go, right, well, you do my stereo mastering as normal, and then I'll go somewhere else to get my Atmos mastering done, because they're going to go to a studio like ours, where it's like, oh yeah, well, they'll do the Atmos mastering and they'll do the stereo mastering. I'll just get it all done together. So that's something that I would factor in, and I would honestly think about, because that is going to be the case going forward. A lot more people are going to want to do Atmos. You'll end up with the more underground artists going, right, we need to be doing Atmos as well, or scratch the stereo and let's just do Atmos. Which, I don't think it will go that way. I still think stereo is massively relevant. It's still relevant. Hence why I've got all this stereo analog mastering equipment, because it's not like Atmos is replacing stereo anytime soon. The two go hand in hand. You still release Atmos and you release stereo. It's not like you just release Atmos. But it may go to the point where at some point where the Atmos master has the stereo master kind of imprinted into it, and you do one delivery of just the Atmos master. That's not the case at the moment, but it could be the case further down the line. We'll keep an eye on that. But at the moment, Atmos and stereo both go out together. So if you are offering mixing and mastering services, fitting an Atmos studio just gives you an extra layer of what you can provide and what you're able to offer your clients. So would I recommend it? I'd recommend it I wouldn't recommend it for producers. Although producing music in Atmos is a hell of a lot of fun, a lot more fun than working in stereo. Atmos opens up a kind of a premium delivery format as such that the producers can utilize with companies that offer Atmos mixing. So as a company or as a mixing engineer, if you aren't offering Atmos, there's a layer of your service that isn't being catered for, and you potentially could lose clients due to them needing Atmos. And it's not highly unlikely, but it's a possibility that those clients could just go somewhere else, get the Atmos mixing done, get the stereo mixing done all in one place. The one good thing with the Atmos mastering, and this is a service if you do provide, if you do fit and install an Atmos studio, this is something that you can provide, is that you can literally take the mix stems off someone and then perform an Atmos master, which is essentially positioning in the 3D space in Atmos, and then mastering the track and getting this track that's then an Atmos releasable kind of version that's very true to the stereo, still sounds like the stereo master, but you've additionally got the Atmos master. Now the thing with this is, eventually at some point, maybe not this year, maybe not next, but at some point, every release is going to have an Atmos master attached to it. So it's kind of like one of them things where start thinking about it, do it now rather than later. Obviously it's a massive cost, and I know that myself. We've fitted two Atmos studios, and they're state of the art. They are incredible studios. One's a PMC system and one's a Ex Machina Arcturus system with Titans, and it's very, very expensive. And it's not just a case of kind of buying a set of speakers and putting them up and kind of going, yeah, we're starting Atmos. There's a big learning curve involved as well. It's not like if you can mix in stereo, there's a lot to learn in Atmos before you can actually perform an Atmos master. I know that myself. There was a massive learning curve. It's changing a whole kind of thought process. So yeah, would I recommend it? Yeah, I would. I would recommend doing it, because as much as you may hate it, and you may hate Atmos, it's not going away, and it's not a fad, and it's, once Apple gets hold of something and Apple starts running with it, you're almost forced to do what they say in some ways. And that's why I kind of, as soon as Apple started going, right, this is our default format now, I looked at that and I went, you know what, we need to get on this, because as soon as they start pushing it, they've got so much pull on the industry that what they say, and if they make standards, they kind of dictate a lot that goes on in the music industry. So as much as you may not like it, Atmos is the future, and I'd honestly recommend start looking now, because if you want to continue to provide what your clients need, you are going to need an Atmos studio. I know that myself, because half of the clients that we have all order Atmos mastering with their stereo masters, and that's a good thing for me. It's brilliant, because there's a lot more. It costs more for the client, but there's a lot more work involved that I have to do, because I've now got to print an Atmos master. I've got to then create a stereo master. It's good for a business to add another layer that can obviously generate money for the business.